Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are diving deep into a really practical GitHub repository by developer Manish Koti. We're going end-to-end on a data science workflow that does two huge things. It predicts customer lifetime value and segments audiences. If you've ever wondered how modern businesses actually take mountains of raw, messy transactional data and transform it into pinpoint-accurate marketing insights, well, you are in the exact right place. It's basically a perfect blueprint for bridging the gap between raw data and real business intelligence. Here's a quick look at our roadmap for today. We'll start with the one-size-fits-all problem, move into the data science solution, take a peek inside the repository itself, and finally walk through the step-by-step setup.
All right, let's jump right into part one, the one-size-fits-all problem.
So, is one-size-fits-all marketing dead? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, think about it. Treating a loyal, high-rolling customer exactly the same as someone just hunting for a one-time bargain, that's not just bad marketing. It is literally leaving money on the table. Modern consumers totally expect personalization, and those old generic campaigns simply do not drive the return on investment that they used to. You know, companies today are basically hoarding vast amounts of transactional data. But there is a really stark reality here. Raw data isn't the same thing as actionable business intelligence. A gigantic spreadsheet doesn't actually tell you who to target or what to offer them. The entire purpose of this project is to build that crucial bridge between raw, unrefined transactions and targeted action. So, how do we fix this? That brings us to part two, the data science solution. The absolute bedrock of this entire solution is something called RFM. That stands for recency, frequency, and monetary value. Instead of just looking at basic demographics, we are diving into actual purchasing behavior. Recency looks at how recently a customer bought something, frequency measures how often they buy, and monetary value, that just looks at how much money they're spending. By analyzing these three specific metrics, the workflow identifies very distinct customer personas. It completely shifts the focus from who the customer is to how the customer actually acts. To actually utilize that RFM data, the repository brings together a really solid tech stack. It uses unsupervised machine learning, specifically K-means clustering, to segment customers, grouping people with similar behaviors without needing any pre-labeled categories. Then, it uses supervised ML, like linear regression, to predict their future lifetime value. It throws in ANOVA for statistical hypothesis testing to make sure the math is sound, and wraps it all up with Streamlit for interactive data visualization. It's just a highly comprehensive toolkit. Because look, the goal here isn't just to do math for the sake of doing math, right? The goal is to empower marketing teams to make a massive pivot. It allows them to transition from generic campaigns to highly personalized, data-driven strategies that maximize return on investment. It's all about putting the right offer in front of the right customer at exactly the right time. Okay, let's roll up our sleeves and look at part three, inside the repository. When we actually look at the code base, it's overwhelmingly driven by Jupyter Notebooks, making up almost 88% of the project, with Python scripts making up about 12%. For us as learners, this is awesome. It means the project is heavily anchored in data exploration and interactive modeling, not just deploying a bunch of static scripts. It's the perfect environment to run code step by step, instantly visualize your results, and really follow the thought process. And the way this repository is structured mirrors a real-world pipeline perfectly. We start at the generate_data.py script to synthesize our raw inputs. That feeds directly into our primary customer analysis notebook, which does all the heavy lifting. That notebook then spits out a clean analytical base table, or ABT, which acts as the fuel for our final Streamlit dashboard app. And there's a report.md file that wraps it all up as an executive summary. It is just a perfectly linear logical flow. So, how do you actually get this running? Let's check out part 4, step-by-step setup. The setup guide gives us a really straightforward 6-step process. You've got your standard environment prep, checking for Python 3.8 or higher, setting up a virtual environment, and installing dependencies. But let's look a bit closer at the last 3 steps, where the real magic actually happens: generating the data, running the analysis, and launching the app. Now, step 4 is where it gets super interesting. Running the data generation script doesn't just hand you a pristine dataset. Nope. It purposefully synthesizes messy, real-world e-commerce data packed with deliberate missing values and statistical outliers. It's such a great touch because it forces you to practice real-world data cleaning before you even think about touching a machine learning model. Next up is step 5, where you fire up that customer analysis Jupyter Notebook. By executing this from top to bottom, you clean up that messy data,
Engineer those RFM metrics we talked about, run your k-means clustering, and build out the predictive model. The final output of all that work is your clean, fully processed, analytical base table file.
And then we get to the final payoff, step 6. Once your processed data is good to go, running a simple Streamlit Run app.py command automatically opens up an interactive web application right in your default browser. Instantly, all that complex clustering and predictive modeling transforms into a sleek dashboard that is totally ready for executive decision-making. We've seen how this repository transforms messy, raw transactions into predictive intelligence, so I want to leave you with this. If you deployed this workflow on your own company's data tomorrow, how would predicting exact lifetime value and identifying distinct customer personas completely transform your marketing ROI? Thanks for joining this explainer.